Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. How's the food coma going? Pretty good? Not so good? Okay. So I'll get right to the point. My name's Stefan. I helped get MedPut up off the ground about 2.5 years ago in New York. We're an employee benefits business that provides interest-free lending and bill negotiation for out-of-pocket healthcare claims. And a little bit of background about how I started MedPut. I used to work at a hedge fund in New York, and I kept fielding complaints from my coworkers about their inability to cope with out-of-pocket medical bills. So I thought it was really weird. At the same time, I was dating a girl, and we were spending the holidays together, and I decided that I couldn't spend one more minute hanging out with her parents, and so I decided to lock myself in a room and investigate the order of magnitude and the impact that out-of-pocket healthcare claims were having on the U.S. workforce. The good news, bad news of that situation was after about 45 minutes to an hour, I arose from the room with tomes of statistics and data that support the MedPut business model. And the bad news was that clearly I had to go back to hanging out with my in-laws. So all joking aside, I think what we're faced with here as a workforce is a really challenging situation. We're at this confluence of health plans with skyrocketing deductibles, record low U.S. household savings balances, and relatively flat or stagnant wages. And so being honest, if you're an employee and you're earning, let's say, $40,000 a year pre-tax with a $5,000 or $6,000 health plan deductible, negligible savings, you kind of don't have health insurance, right? So if you want to go out and obtain a healthcare treatment that's, let's say, is $1,000, $2,000, you're kind of faced with this harrowing list of high-interest borrowing options to be able to cover the treatment. And the really frustrating thing, I think, at least in my opinion, is that there's never been a more powerful time as a consumer to self-pay your healthcare claims, especially for out-of-network claims. And so a lot of providers even go so far as to publish a menu of self-pay rates, often at a pretty significant discount. The obvious issue here is that most consumers don't have enough good cash lying around to take advantage of these options. And so this dynamic is really what helped to bring about the MedPut product model. Touch on how we make money really quickly. We charge a PEPM fee, and then we keep half of any discount they're able to negotiate on employees' healthcare claims. We sell exclusively to employers. We do not have a direct-to-consumer model at this point. The claim submission process, I think, is pretty simple. So an employee snaps a photocopy of the bill, uploads the JPEG into our application. We go to work negotiating the bill, and then we ultimately pay funds directly to the healthcare provider. We get repaid over time through payroll deductions. If an employee leaves the job mid-repayment, whether they're terminated or whether they leave voluntarily, we're never going to pursue the employer for the balance of the outstanding amount. So an employee can upload one bill or multiple bills at any given time, and we'll advance up to $3,000 per claim submission. We underwrite risk, and we think about risk at the group level, meaning that any employee who's enrolled in MedPut can utilize our service without us having to run a credit check. You're already approved. We cover a really wide range of healthcare-related expenses. And so one thing that we wanted to do with the program was to expand an employee's effective network, because we realized that a lot of employees want to go get healthcare treatments that are either not covered by their health plan or they don't know are covered by their health plan. So we just said, you know what, anything that's healthcare related, we got you. So this includes, but is not limited to, out-of-network medical, dental, vision, elective procedures. We paid for someone's weight loss treatment a few weeks ago. In fact, about a third of the bills that we paid for have been connected to dental treatments. That's kind of interesting. A little bit about where we are as a business, traction. We're live with 11 employer clients and roughly 2,200 enrolled employees across 49 states. We haven't hit Hawaii yet. I think we've seen some really interesting patterns with respect to utilization. So we've seen over the last 12 months, the average claim submission size increase from $600 to about $1,100. I know this is a lot of numbers, but what that means to us is that the employees who are utilizing our service are getting more comfortable with the service and coming back and trusting us to do as we say. Most employees who utilize our service are repeat users, which we think is great. The percentage of out-of-network claims which we've received has increased over time. which we like because that gives us better latitude to go out and try to negotiate discounts. I think maybe most importantly, employees have told us that what MedPut has provided for them is a comfort level exploring their healthcare options because we remove a layer of financial fear from the healthcare journey. So it's a quick speech, and welcome any questions. I'll be here all afternoon. Thank you very much.
So our question was around the extent of your provider networks.
So that's actually that's a great question, something that we're working toward. The way that it works right now is when we receive a claim, we contact the provider directly on a case-by-case basis, but we have been in touch with a few pretty prominent urgent care providers specifically on establishing direct relationships, contractual relationships with that provider. It's in the works. It's going to take a little bit of time. Basically, once we have the client base in their geographic locations to support enough volume, that would make it interesting for them. But it's definitely on the roadmap. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.